Hello. Can I just say, twice last week, Paul Merton publicly accused me on air of being drunk. I am.
Good evening, welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Steph McGovern. In the news this week, in Nottingham, there's a heartfelt response from one onlooker as a postman slips and breaks his ankle. Returning to Dieppe, one French fisherman still hits his quota despite the stringent limit on the number of fish he can catch. And despite constant assurances that they would be together for life, one resident in Marlow is furious to discover her partner's moved in with that trollop at number 3. On Ian's team tonight, a comedian who says she loves hosting her new BBC Two show, described as a lightning-fast, quick-fire quiz. Well, she's out of luck this evening, isn't she? Please welcome Zoe Lyons. And with Paul tonight, former deputy political editor for the BBC, who now presents a drive time radio programme, so we'll be going over to him for live traffic and travel updates throughout the show. Please welcome John Pienaar. So we begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Ian and Zoe, have a look at this.
It's Super Thursday.
Forest.
There's an elbow. There's an arse.
Exit only. There he goes.
Yeah, Scottish parliamentary elections as well. There's Keir Starmer.
I am a good leader. I am a good leader.
So we're at a bit of a disadvantage with this question because it's Thursday and we don't know what's happened. So over to John. What's going to happen?
Well, everybody's watching Hartlepool, the Hartlepool by-election and the Scottish elections, which are both going to be, one, tough for Labour, that's Hartlepool, win or lose, and for Scotland, it's going to be tough for the Union, however well the Scottish...
Thanks, that's all we've got time for, John.
Well, I'll tell you about Hartlepool. Labour's problem there has been that they've had a problem matching Peter Mandelson's working-class credibility.
Yeah, you're right, this is Super Thursday. It really was, wasn't it?
It was pretty super in the polling booth I went to. I took my own pencil.
Oh, yes, because you're meant to.
Yeah, you've got to be very careful
reasons.
now. You don't want to share it.
I know, but don't you enjoy when you go to a polling station taking the pencils? Like, do you remember at Argos as well? Did you ever go... Do you know what Argos is, Ian?
You lost me on taking the pencil.
Nobody's...
He sometimes gets confused between Argos and voting, because the last time he voted, you left with a fridge freeze.
Well, I was promised it by the politician.
Yeah, you promised it.
Yeah, so where did some early morning voters in Oxford have to cast their ballot?
Did they have to do it by Zoom?
No, it was in a car boot, because it was supposed to be in a local church, but the warden overslept. What has the Mirror been calling Hartlepool?
Fartlepool.
No, they've been calling Hartlepool the blockbuster Westminster ballot. People haven't used that word in Hartlepool since the video store closed, of course.
Is it the first time that it will not be Labour since...
60s.
when?
Yeah, that's right.
64?
Yeah, 70, mid-70s.
That's all we got time for, John.
How come the Tories are doing so well in the north, John?
Because Labour keep on telling people off for getting it wrong instead of listening to the reason they don't like Labour anymore. Labour has got an enormous job. It's going to need a, well, if not a new leader, a whole new way of doing it, and possibly both.
Didn't they try the new leader?
Yeah, they did. It was never going to be easy for Keir Starmer in a pandemic at all. But right now, they pretty much tuned him out. We'll judge him when they start listening, which will be soon, and we'll see whether he's got what it takes.
Basically, the Tory campaign was vaccination.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's it.
People like the Tories because of vaccination, and they don't mind the fact that you can't believe a word Boris Johnson says. And that's what you hear from anyone and almost everyone, including his own MPs, including Tory voters, which tells you people don't like politics anymore. And that's not bad for Boris Johnson.
So they don't care?
They don't care much.
That's depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a cheery first round.
Do you know what? I think it might be down to their innovative campaign videos. Do you want to see one by the Tory candidate in one area of Blackburn?
Absolutely, and I'd fight anybody who tried to stop me.
This is Tiger Patel. Do you think he's realised what the graffiti is? Can we zoom in on it?
It's a curious combination of Mussolini standing on the balcony in a children's playground, isn't it?
Kia's been trying to toughen up, though, by doing some boxing. Do you want to see his ring work?
Yes, please.
Try and whack it. Yes, this is good. And again. That's it. And again. Try and breathe. Relax. That's it.
I've moved back up. Is the thing to move it or not?
I'm convinced you can hit it harder than that.
You're hitting it, mate. It's like watching Italian nonna making dough, isn't it?
That is the worst right hook since John Prescott. I can tell you that years and years ago, I challenged Boris Johnson to a fight.
Did you?
I did, on telly, live on telly, so-called celebrity boxing, and he said he was going to fight me, but only if I didn't break his nose, which I promised I wasn't going to do. And so that was all fine. He didn't want to do it in the end, and it didn't happen.
I'm really shocked that your story involves the Prime Minister promising to do something and then just not doing it.
No,
You didn't
I
feel
know.
Do you reckon you could take on Kia, then?
Well,
I could take on Kia.
Who's the hardest politician?
Nicola Sturgeon. You wouldn't want to get into a room with Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah, OK, so then what about your colleagues in journalism? Would you take any of them on? Like, what about Hugh Pym?
Hugh Pym is about 8 foot.
What about Beth Rigby?
No.
Oh, wait a minute.
Have you seen Beth
The
Rigby?
direction of this programme is taking a very strange detour.
Hugh Pym's too nice.
Yeah, but if you riled Hugh Pym, I think he'd really come at you. I think he'd tear your
He'd
throat.
snap. What was Nadine Dorries' big mistake that had no bearing on the result whatsoever?
Did she stand for office?
No, she claimed in a tweet that Boris Johnson had delivered 180,000 jobs in Hartlepool, bearing in mind the population of Hartlepool is 92,000.
So the jobs are so badly paid, everybody has to do 2 of them.
She also spelt Hartlepool without a T.
Did she?
Yeah, not only jobs, it's a T's been
Hartlepool.
lost.
Ironically, she has the word stay alert next to her name.
So Boris Johnson doesn't look like he's been damaged, does he, by the fact that there are 3 separate inquiries into his domestic doings. Also, since 2018, there have been various questions about him failing to declare income, holidays and property interests. Why does none of it matter, Ian? You know.
Well, I think it does matter. It may not matter short-term to the electorate, but, you know, in the end, these things are important. And from the freebie holiday to the freebie gold wallpaper, in the end, it will display itself in his character and it will be important. I have to believe that.
Did he ask donors for money for his nannies as well?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. That's a tricky job when you don't know how many kids you're going to be looking after when you take the job.
Nobody denied that he wanted a donor to pay for the nanny.
For the nanny,
I think
yeah.
there's going to have to be a compromise on that. I mean,
he didn't even have a child when he advertised.
Boris loves friendly businessmen. He likes donors. Carrie wants someone that Boris isn't going to fancy. So my money is on Tim Martin, the boss of Wetherspoons. Right?
According to the Mail on Sunday, Boris Johnson claims he needs £300,000 a year just to stay solvent. But what does the Mail on Sunday suggest is the reason he's pleading poverty?
Child maintenance.
Child maintenance, you're not far wrong there yet. According to the paper, it's just a ploy to stop his exes coming after him for support.
But why should they come after him for support? They didn't get any while they were married.
What, according to the Daily Star, has Boris Johnson been looking for in number 10?
His balls, because Carrie seems to have them.
According to the Daily Star, he keeps trying to find quiet rooms in which to take refuge. Once they found him in the toilet. Although, to be fair, he could have just been going to the toilet, couldn't he?
Just the once they found him. So he's full of...
Who might succeed hardline Conservative, then, Arlene Foster, as leader of the DUP?
Edwin Poots?
Yeah.
Yeah, who sounds like a Dickensian villain, doesn't he? Edwin Poots, here he comes. Yeah. He is a young Earth creationist,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
As opposed to the old Earth creationists, which are really reasonable. He believes that the planet is,
Yes.
what, 4,000 BC?
Yeah, he does have strong views, does Edwin, including the Earth is only 6,000 years old. What does he think about the Big Bang?
He doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
On the basis that he knows a lot about Northern Ireland and he's seen a lot of explosions. and in his judgment, nothing good has ever come of it.
Yes.
Finally, would you like to see a picture that makes Joe Biden look massive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So, Joe Biden and his wife Jill posed for a photo this week with the former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind. There we are.
I think what Jimmy and Rosalind have done, though, is what a lot of people of their age do, and they've just downsized.
There is this strange sort of lens going on there, because Jimmy Carter's feet...
Yeah, and massive.
He's going skiing by the look of him. I mean, there's something gone wrong there.
Yeah, which makes you think maybe Trump's hands were just a long way from the camera, and that's why they were really tiny. They thought about the lens. Yeah, apparently it's a wide-angle lens which exaggerates perspective.
Joe does look like he's operating Rosalind from behind, doesn't he? Like...
Yeah, someone apparently called Leonardo da Vinci claims to have put it through a process which readjusts the perspective. Shall we have a look? This is Super Thursday, though I'm guessing that's not what Keir Starmer is calling it. This could be the last we see of the Red Wall. Well, it definitely will be if Carrie Symonds has got anything to do with it. The Prime Minister was this week accused by a Downing Street insider of being absolutely useless when it comes to IT, which is surprising, given all those free lessons he had from Jennifer Akrury. Paul and John.
Yes.
Take a look at this.
Yes. Fish. We've left the European Union, and so now it's war.
Yeah. This is the news that France and the UK may soon be at war over Jersey. What's ruffled the French?
This is the new trade deal, which means that Jersey gets to give out the licences. And the French fishing fleet thinks they're too slow and thinks it's a rotten deal, and it probably isn't a very good deal. I mean, it's not only our fishermen who thinks this is a terrible deal. You know, the French fishermen are furious with Macron for giving in.
With mackerel.
With Macron. Yeah, President Macron. And, you know, like with their lorry drivers, they were going to blockade the port of St Helier in Jersey. And then the French, because we're in this new friendly atmosphere post-Brexit, the French said, right, we're going to cut off the electricity supply. I mean, the whole of Jersey is kept alight on a cable, which is a fairly major declaration of hostility. At which point Boris thought, it's Thursday, let's send in the gunboats. And then the French sent some boats. But I believe it's de-escalated. Is that right, John?
Yeah, the French went home for tea and said, calm down, calm down.
Yeah, they were blockading Jersey's main port with up to 60 fishing vessels, an incident so serious, the BBC had to put a reporter in a boat and send him out in the rain.
And Robert, what are people involved in the fishing industry on Jersey saying about all of this? We've heard, of course, from the government, but from the fishermen's perspective, what are they saying?
Well, it's an interesting situation, Anita, and apologies. I'm going to get Adrian just to wipe the lens while I'm talking to you. It's an interesting situation. Jersey and French fishermen, indeed Guernsey and French fishermen too.
Have you ever had to have anyone wipe your lens, John?
Yes, many times.
Can you not do it yourself, though?
Well, you're sort of looking into the lens.
Yeah, but you can walk over and give it a wipe.
Yeah, it's a good
Well,
point.
the camera people are very, protective about their equipment.
That's true.
You can't just go around wiping their lenses.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know. I mean, look at these guys here, they're professionals.
Studio manager is having hysterics.
Yeah, well, he's worked with them, he knows what they're like.
Who was it that struck the most fear into the French?
Oh, it was someone with a vaccine.
No, it's the Jersey Militia Reenactment Group.
Ah.
One member was seen firing on the French boats with a musket. Let's have a look.
There's nobody there. It took him so long to load the musket, they just scarpered.
That's more or less the full strength of the British Army at the moment. I don't know why you're laughing.
So how are talks progressing?
I think they're going quite well. I think people are calming down.
Jersey's Assistant Environment Minister, Gregory Guida, and other officials sailed out to meet the French fishermen for discussions, which, according to BBC Jersey, may involve shouting from boat to boat due to COVID restrictions. What are you going to do then? Yeah, I'll do that.
Well, they've got a curfew as well, haven't they, still? So...
I am very angry, but I have to be back for tea time.
Yeah. According to the Daily Telegraph, what could the chilling end game of all of this be?
Nuclear war.
Well, everybody in Jersey's freezer will defrost. It'll be a nightmare.
The Daily Telegraph understands that Britain is drawing up plans to review its energy links with France and reroute giant energy cables to the Netherlands. But obviously the whole thing hinges on whether Robert Dias has a long enough extension lead. Which expert on all of this did Good Morning Britain invite into the studio?
Joe Pasquale.
Should we find out?
Yeah, go on.
They can't cut the electricity off. That's drivel. The contract is between them and a company. They'd have to pass an act of law to cut it off. They're floundering away as usual. I know the French are wrong here.
Best-selling author, is that all he's known for, is it, Ian?
Don't know. I'm just thinking who I'd believe in any particular situation. An entire country or an ex-con who went inside for perjury. It's a toss-up, isn't there?
Yeah, it certainly is when you look at him.
Nice to see an old friend, though, Ian.
It's lovely to see old friends. Yes, it is. I had no idea he was still out and about. Is that a tag?
Boris Johnson has held emergency talks with Jersey's Chief Minister, Jean Le Fondre, although obviously another John is standing by. Does anyone know what the people of Jersey are known as by other Channel Islanders?
Wankers.
Well, they're called crappos, which means toads.
This could be the pilot for a new quiz show called Who Cares? Who cares? This week's host, we're not going to tell you.
Who cares?
Who cares?
And finally, why did France get a bit smaller this week?
Oh, was it some farmer moved a very important piece of boundary, a stone in a field?
Yeah. A Belgian farmer accidentally moved the border between Belgium and France by shifting a boundary marker that had been there since 1819. He moved it by 2.29 metres after it got in the way of his tractor.
Fair enough.
Here is the stone in question. Oh, what a lovely stone.
Yes.
The French now plan to move the stone even further back in the other direction, so the border just loops around Belgium's Pfizer factory. Yes, this is the story that things are unravelling in Jersey because the French are trying it on. Now, The Sun came up with the headline, PM sends Navy to guard Jersey. A little bit over the top. It wasn't the entire Navy, it was 2 small boats. That's only half the Navy. According to the Telegraph, the French fishermen have threatened on the 200th anniversary of the death of Napoleon to bring the people of Jersey to their knees. Well, even on their knees, they'd still be taller than Napoleon.
Napoleon was actually of above average height.
Yeah.
It was just English caricaturists made him very small.
Yes.
He was about 5'9", I think.
5'9", that's tall, isn't it, really?
Well,
Was back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was definitely of average height.
Well, if you've tuned into Who Cares, how tall was Napoleon? Tune in next week and we'll tell you.
Oh, hang on, news just in. Napoleon was 5'6", Ian.
Oh, excellent. Average height at the time.
So how tall was Wellington?
Well, I can tell you Nelson's 300 foot high. I don't know if you...
Now on to round 2.
Yes.
Randomiser of news.
Fantastic.
Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Yeah. Scots porridge oats, old-fashioned, thick Scottish milled oats.
Yeah, what about them?
No idea. They're changing the artwork. They decided that a man wearing a kilt and a vest and throwing a bomb isn't what they want, so they're going to go for something else.
Yeah, they've had a makeover of the Scots Oats porridge man. So this is the original, as seen on Scots porridge oats boxes since the 1950s.
Yeah, he's nice.
He's based on Highland Games shot putter Jay Scott, but he's recently been modernised. Can you spot the difference?
Slightly camper in the wrist at the end.
He appears to be on a mobile phone now.
No, the original's got like pecs. Does the new one have just like a slight moob?
Yeah, he's slightly less muscular. He's wearing a different
And he
tartan.
literally appears to be in a meeting going, yeah, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. He looks like he's trying to catch somebody's eye in a haberdashers.
How do you think porridge fans have reacted to the makeover?
With fury.
They must hate it.
Yeah, it's not gone down well. No. One said he looked like a wimp. One lamented the tragic loss of pectoral cleavage. Is your point, Zoe?
I love a bit of pectoral cleavage.
Who doesn't?
Whilst one said they thought he looked like Ed Miliband. One brand that hasn't had a makeover but perhaps should is Frank Cooper's marmalade. Why is it annoying people?
Because apparently his wife made the marmalade and not him.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is on the side of a jar.
Yes.
It says, in 1874, in her Oxfordshire family kitchen, Frank Cooper's wife, Sarah Jane, created the first batch of Frank Cooper marmalade. Frank's got nothing to do with it.
No.
Gosh, that would be a precedent, wouldn't it? If we had to rebrand everything that way. Prime Minister Carrie Symonds.
How has Gwyneth Paltrow, creator of the vagina candle and vampire repellent spray, expanded her brand this week?
She's expanded her what? I'm not surprised if she's using a candle.
One of those pillar ones. This candle just won't light. Don't ask. Damn quick. She's being a wellness advisor on cruise ships.
Yes.
Oh, God, which is like, that's like room 101 on water. A cruise ship and then being trapped with Gwyneth Paltrow giving out wellness advice is just, I'd be jumping off the plank. I'd be throwing myself at French fishermen at that point.
If this is a quick tip for anybody who's watching who's going on a cruise at some point, beware if the crew start handing out ice creams. That means that somebody's died on board and they need the freezer. So, they start handing out free ice creams. Check on Auntie. It's true.
Can you imagine what flavour they'd be with Gwyneth?
Yeah, she's moving into the world of luxury cruises. Her brand Goop is collaborating with Celebrity Cruises to launch the ultimate wellness experience at sea.
Isn't the ultimate wellness experience at sea not drowning?
Is that something you worry about every time you get on a cruise?
Yeah. Well, I don't worry too much until I see the raspberry ripples come round.
Do you remember the story where a woman nearly burnt down her house because of Gwyneth Paltrow, the candle, and it exploded in a living room?
Yes.
It's called This Smells of My Vagina.
Yeah.
And it exploded in her house. And it's like, if that's a sort of representation of Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina, I'm just suggesting, we've all had thrush, but that really has taken it to the limit.
I'm just enjoying looking at Ian, Paul and John's faces.
No, we're all learning.
Yeah.
We're all thinking to ourselves, what's a vagina?
Does anyone fancy this cruise, then?
Oh, I thank God you finished that sentence the way you did. Is there a buffet involved?
I love a good buffet, actually.
Yeah, so do I, yeah, we all fancy the cruise if it helps.
Yes.
Meanwhile, what's been going on in the waterways in Leicester?
It's a low-speed police chase of a man in a barge, I presume, or narrowboat.
Yeah, it was an intense police chase,
Yeah.
is the proper description. Yeah, as officers pursued a narrowboat along the Grand Union Canal at speeds of up to 4 miles per hour. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Yes. Oh, yeah, this is a big rave being held in Liverpool the weekend, or was it Thursday and Friday, I think, something like that. A bunch of people, 6,000 people have got together in a club and to see, and they're all tested beforehand, and to see basically, you know, whether the virus will spread in such an environment, but hopefully it won't. And it's the first of getting back to normal.
I thought it was the Labour campaign headquarters in Hartlepool who were hiding their disappointment when they heard that Keir Starmer couldn't make it that day.
I mean, hypothermia is a problem because they've all gone blue.
Pilot events included the World Snooker Championships at the Crucible in Sheffield, a live concert for 5,000 people in Liverpool, and a business conference. Which one of those would have been your first choice, Ian?
None of the above.
What would you be doing instead?
Shouting through the nearest off-licence letterbox. You open yet? I can smell it from here.
You've seen him do that as well?
Yeah. He goes out of the house with a straw in his hand and sticks it through the letterbox.
Zoe?
Definitely the conference, just free pens and lanyards.
Oh, yes, you see, you understand.
Yeah.
Are you from Middlesbrough as well?
No, just really tight.
Yeah. Now, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland are also planning to lift restrictions thanks to the successful vaccine rollout. It was announced this week that 34 million people have now had a first dose, 16 million people have had a second dose, and this woman may have had 3.
Oh, javelin.
I love the way she just casually pulls it out, though. Like, not like, sorry, love.
Yeah, won't hurt.
So what's the latest trend to have risen in popularity during the pandemic? I'm going to give you a little clue.
Yes.
It's got a big one and a little one.
Penny farthings.
Yes!
What?
Penny farthings, I kid you not. Let's have a look. Yeah, penny farthing bikes have seen a huge surge in popularity, according to the iNewspaper, with a 200% rise in sales.
So they've sold 2 this year, none the year before.
We've seen both of them.
There was somebody explained to me why that was first invented rather than a bicycle with 2 ordinary wheels, but I can't remember what the explanation is.
You get the smaller wheel to drive the bigger wheel.
Right.
But they hadn't done that bit
The
yet.
latest bit of Who Cares?
Exactly. Hey, well, that's my show.
Here's a picture now of young people enjoying one of the pilot events held at Circus nightclub in Liverpool. The BBC's Ian Youngs described the exhilarating scene at Sefton Park. At 5:30, an already sizable crowd was in front of the stage. By 6:30, a girl was being sick on the grass next to the filthy vegan food van.
Yay.
Yeah, you're beginning to sell it to me.
I'll hold your hair back, Ian, when you're being sick.
Who are playing?
I believe Sir Adrian Bolt was in an appearance.
Excellent, as long as he's headlining.
Yes.
John, you enjoy letting your hair down at a festival or two, don't you?
I love a good festival, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, the booming music, the crowd swaying, right? The beer in your hand, your youngest child on your shoulders, the crowd roaring out, you know, oh, Sir Keir Starmer. It's
So while the young people of Liverpool were doing this, here's the scene at the Cranberry Farm pub in Exeter on Bank Holiday Monday. It's saying gale force winds and rain. We've got to eat outdoors. They don't have umbrellas or patio heaters. Get that table booked, Shirley.
You need the Algarve or, you know, the Isle of Capri when you've got a roundabout with one of the roads shut off as well.
It does show how desperate people have got. I had a drink outside a pub. It was the middle of the night.
This wasn't... Finally, do you want to see a council worker in Hull get his ride-on lawnmower stuck in a tree?
Yeah. I think we've just found the title sequence to Who Cares?
This is the news that 6,000 people attended a warehouse rave in Liverpool. Also this week, Matt Hancock was photographed outside a pub. The landlord was happy to take his order, 1 pint of Guinness and £30 million worth of PPE. Fingers on buzzers, everyone.
Yeah.
This is a birdie who is very popular on Instagram. It's a frogmouth birdie?
Yes.
He's got the right face for Instagram. He's just got the right amount of highlights, big eyes, and a couple of products that he likes to sell. So he's nailed Instagram.
Yeah, this is the news that researchers have discovered. The frogmouth bird is the world's most aesthetically pleasing bird.
It's cute, though, isn't it? I mean,
I think its eyes are too far apart. Makes me suspicious.
Not as suspicious as the one on the left. Oh, he's not having any of it.
He's like that. He opens up his wing and goes, "Want to buy a watch?"
He looks a little bit like Michael Gove.
Finally, can anyone tell me what's going on here?
It's a herd of cows entertaining a string quartet.
That is in Denmark, where it was found that cellists playing in a barn kept the cows calm and happy. They may have just been thinking, what the hell are all these cellists doing in the barn? And why don't they play something like a bit of Bach you can tap your hooves to?
Chamber music.
It might be more of a dark picture, that. That could be an abattoir scene, really.
You've got a jolly frame of mind.
Only because once I went to an abattoir and they played Enya to the cows before they...
What, to calm them down?
Yeah? Sail away, sail away. I said this on Breakfast Telly in my report, and Enya kicked off big style.
Really?
Absolutely raging.
Well, she really didn't like the idea that her music was played to a load of slaughtered animals.
I know, I don't know why.
Well, I hope she doesn't watch this show.
I don't think it happens anymore, though.
What, someone else's music now?
Yeah, I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to cause chaos. Time now for the odd one out round. Paul and John.
Yes.
Your four are Andy Capp, canoeman John Darwin, Jeff Stelling, and a pangolin called Eric.
Well, John Darwin, top right as we're looking, he was the man that faked his own death, wasn't he? The animal, what, do you know anything about that, John?
Well, it's hiding.
So it's about people who are hiding. Andy Capp or Jeff Stelling would presumably be the odd one out. I don't know why Andy Capp would be hiding. Jeff Stelling's the odd one out.
No.
No, Andy Capp is.
No.
Well, I don't know then.
Can you give us a clue?
There's a
We'll give you a clue. It's our question.
I know. I'm desperate.
By the way, we know that. I mean, you've not had a drink for 3 hours.
Got to do with a place
Newcastle.
in the northeast, which we've been talking about.
Middlesbrough, Hartlepool.
Hartlepool. They all come from Hartlepool, apart from Eric the pangolin, who was offered to Hartlepool as a gift, but was declined.
Andy Capp's from Hartlepool. I didn't know that.
Reg Smythe.
That's right, yes.
Yeah,
he was the
yeah.
guy.
So Reg Smythe was from Hartlepool, as is the character Andy Capp, who's appeared in the Daily and Sunday Mirror since 1957. So who tried to send Hartlepool a pangolin called Eric?
I don't know.
It wasn't Peter Mandelson.
No. It was Tanzania. And it was a thank you gift after Hartlepool sponsored a school and a hospital in the country. Why didn't Hartlepool want it?
They'd already got one.
Council officials in Hartlepool did some research into whether the animal would survive the harsh English winter, and zoos told them that it would at best last 10 days. So Sky Sports presenter and former Countdown host Jeff Stelling also hails from Hartlepool and is the president of Hartlepool United FC. Would anyone like to see him managing to stay calm and professional live on air as the final whistle approaches at a Hartlepool game?
Yeah.
Did I see the Hartlepool final score go through? No. Still playing? Goodness me, come on, ref, what's going on here? It's 5 o'clock. Where is the full-time score? Are they playing in a different time zone? There's 12 minutes of added time at Hartlepool! Oh, my goodness! How do they get 12 minutes?
Crowd congestion.
Just absolutely ludicrous. They're doing it deliberately to me. I'm going to keep cool. Here's Alan Lambourne with the classified results.
Doncaster Rovers 2, Colchester United 0. Gillingham 0, Barnsley 1.
Yeah! We won! We won! Hartlepool won! Wimbledon 0! Woo! Thank goodness my microphone's not open.
Finally, a new ITV drama will tell the story of John Darwin, the canoeman, who famously faked his own death on a beach in Hartlepool in 2002, before reappearing alive and well 5 years later. Does anyone remember how he remained hidden all that time?
Well, he was living next door. He'd put a wardrobe against a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
So he was able to do a sort of Narnia thing and keep coming back in and see the wife and then go back again. And didn't they get captured in the end because they posted photographs on holiday or something?
Yes, exactly that. He lived for a while in a bedsit next door to the family home, and then 2 years later, John and his wife Anne ran away to Panama. Then they had a picture with a local estate agent. Someone recognised them. Why could this mystery have been solved a lot earlier on?
If the police had gone to the bedsit?
Well, a few months after Darwin disappeared, he was spotted by a neighbour, Lee Wadrop, who asked him, "Aren't you supposed to be dead?" And he replied, "Don't tell anyone about this." So he didn't. So you can say what you like about the people of Hartlepool, but they keep their word. Yes, they all come from Hartlepool, apart from a pangolin called Eric, who was offered to Hartlepool by Tanzania as a thank you. John Darwin faked his own death in a canoe, according to the Express. The alarm was raised when a double-ended paddle was retrieved from the sea near Seaton. And from that point on, Darwin drifted slowly up Shit Creek. After his kayak was reported missing, John Darwin had to stay indoors, unable to get out or see anyone for months on end. I wonder what that must have been like. Ian and Zoe, here are yours. Cleo Watson, Alan Titchmarsh, Alistair Campbell and Hurstbourne Tarrant.
I think this is about erotic literature. This village, that phone box is actually the library. It's one of the bigger libraries in the country after recent cuts. And they've enjoyed it so much that someone in the village was putting back erotic books and the village got really cross about it. And I think that's the key, because that's Chloe Watson, who was a friend of Dominic Cummings. She used to work in Number 10, and she's now writing an erotic novel, apparently, about Number 10. I can't imagine where she gets the inspiration. I think Alistair Campbell wrote a novel about...
He used to write for sort of what used to be called girly mags, or I don't know what they're called these days.
Oh, right. So he wrote erotic fiction.
Yeah.
Please tell me Alan Titchmarsh didn't write erotic.
He wrote a lot of novels, though, that were quite raunchy.
Yeah.
What,
Yep.
Titchmarsh?
Didn't he get a bad sex award?
Yeah.
I mean, for the novel,
Yes.
not for...
Yeah, they've all written erotic fiction apart from Hurstbourne Tarrant, a village where erotic fiction is mysteriously appearing in its phone box community library. So Cleo Watson, as you say, Ian, a former Downing Street advisor and Dominic Cummings ally, is said to be writing an erotic political thriller. Any ideas what it's going to be called?
Is that a manifesto in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see it?
Dominic's coming.
That's worth the licence fee alone.
It's going to be called Whips.
Yeah, that's the provisional title, according to the Daily Mail.
I suppose it could be called Illegal Payments, but that would be more amusing, wouldn't it?
Now, it's said to be based on her time in Westminster, with thinly disguised characters based on real political figures. So who do we think might have inspired her?
There's someone called Morris Bonson.
We know that one character, Teddy Hammer, is said to be based on outgoing strategic advisor Sir Edward Lister.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I would, wouldn't you?
Show us your portfolio.
Does anyone recall how Boris Johnson described a woman in his novel, 72 Virgins?
No idea, no.
He described one female character as a mega-titted 6-footer.
What, she'd have like 15 breasts or something?
Which is interesting, because he's just a mega-tit, isn't he? Yeah, a phone box in the town of Hurstbourne Tarrant in Hampshire that was converted into a library has been the subject of a local scandal after salacious adult literature was found on the shelves. Hurstbourne Tarrant isn't the only village to suffer from unwanted donations of saucy books, though. How did one resident in the village of Cornholme in West Yorkshire protest against what was going on there?
He put up a sign saying, "This book has come from Sodom and Gomorrah." Someone got really upset.
Yeah, he stuck this forthright sign to the library box and it said, "Whoever is placing the copies of pornographic literature in here, stop! Cornholme is a good, God-fearing Christian village. If this filth is to your liking, may we suggest that you move to the cesspit that is Hebden Bridge." Meanwhile, what has the Queen been up to this week to support adult industries? Should I give you a clue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about the royal status given to businesses. Have you seen that when they
Oh, her seal of
give them
approval.
the seal of approval? Yeah. She's given the royal seal of approval to Britain's biggest adult store, Love Honey, for outstanding continuous growth. Time now for the missing words round, which this week features as its guest publication Sweep Stuff magazine, the magazine of the Guild of Master Chimney Sweepers. They've broken some massive global stories. 18 months ago, they were warning of a terrible flu. And we start with middle-aged men spend thousands of pounds on what during midlife crises?
White wine mostly.
Hair restorer.
Middle-aged men spend thousands of pounds on high-end aquariums during midlife crisis. Yeah, according to the Times, the popularity of aquascaping has risen sharply amongst men aged 30 to 50 in the past year. One man spent over 10 grand on his aquarium. Luckily, he found a small chest of buried treasure at the bottom of it. What do you do to relax, Ian? What do you listen to or do?
Sober up.
Next. What a common problem in the chimney industry?
Fires.
Obesity.
Obesity. It's bees nestling in chimneys are a common problem in the chimney industry. Apparently, in a healthy colony nesting in a chimney, up to 50 dying bees a day will drop down and enter the house, where you can swap them with your copy of Master Chimney Sweepers magazine. Next, teen accidentally moves what?
Before 2 in the afternoon.
Teen accidentally moves into retirement village. 19-year-old Madison found herself living in the retirement village after viewing the apartment online and signing the lease without reading the small print. Madison told one newspaper, "I'm friends with lots of my neighbours. I've even been able to go to dinner with them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon." Next, drunk man buys £500 what on eBay?
Bag of pork scratchings.
Is that how much you would pay for a bag of pork scratchings?
I was drunk.
Would you? How much
Drunk
do you
man
like?
buys £500 for £600 on eBay.
Drunk man buys £500 suit of armour on eBay.
That's not bad for a suit of armour, I would have thought.
How much did you pay for yours, like?
Well, I got it on hire purchase, actually, from the gas board.
Well, here he is, modelling the suit. At least he had something to wear when his wife found out about it. And finally, man robbing a what demands what, but is told what?
Man robbing a horse demands cash, but is told, "Look, mate, I'm a horse, I've got no money."
Man robbing a store demands bag, but is told it's 10p.
It's man robbing a McDonald's demands nuggets, but is told it's too early. Yeah, a man who demanded chicken nuggets whilst committing a robbery at McDonald's was told they were only serving breakfast and had to make do with a double sausage McMuffin instead. According to BBC News, the robber has been jailed for 6 years. At first, he was only given 2, but he was rude to the judge who supersized it. So the final scores are Ian and Zoe have 5, Paul and John have 7.
Well done.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Zoe Lyons, Paul Merton and John Pienaar. And I leave you with news that after realising he's left the house without a mask, one man is quick to repurpose his underwear. On the campaign trail, Boris Johnson unveils a discreet new method to remind him which part of the country he's in. And during a lunch break in Hyde Park, one city worker instinctively decides now would be a bad moment to get out his fish paste sandwiches. Good night.